Hi guys, it's Heather. Welcome back to my channel and to another random rambling. I wanted to talk a little bit today about magical tools and just to have a little bit of a ramble on my thoughts around the subject. It's something that I've wanted to talk about, and I've always known that I would talk about at some point on this channel, because it is something that I think should be talked about. And then this week, Jessica the Story Witch did her own video on tools for her alphabet series that she's doing, which I really liked and I really resonated with. We have very similar views, I think, on tools, and I will link that video for you below so you can check it out, because I really highly recommend it. And also, I go to a monthly pagan discussion moot on the third Saturday of the month, so that would have been this Saturday. And it's basically a space, we meet in a library, and it's a space where we just kind of have a topic for the month, and we have an open forum where we all discuss our views on that topic. We all come from very different paths and very different beliefs, so it's all about being respectful of each other's paths and each other's beliefs, but just really like thrash out our ideas around a specific topic. And this month, to cut a very long story short, we were talking about magical tools. So it just felt like now was the right time for me to have that discussion and get out the things that I wanted to say. As is always the case with any random ramble that I post, everything that I say and everything that I talk about in this video is just my opinion, and you are free to disagree with anything that I say. I'm not claiming that my way is the right way or that I have all the answers. These are just my thoughts. These are just me rambling on a topic to get my thoughts out there into the world and see what I get back. Logan is also with me. He's on my knee, so if you see me like weirdly stroking the dog, that's what I'm doing. Just so you know, he may move at some point, so you may get a lovely view of him passing me on his way back off my knee, but he might stay still for the whole video. We'll see how he goes. He's very clingy today because it's cold again. Okay, anyway, on to the topic at hand. The main reason that I wanted to make this topic and have this discussion is because I think, personally, that it can be really overwhelming. When you're new to witchcraft, or you're new to this kind of path, it can be really, really overwhelming. And when I first started out, I had all these books, and I bought all these books and was reading things online and studying and trying to figure out who I was and what all this meant to me. And I was really attracted to this path because it was something that kind of, the idea of personal empowerment and personal choice and your spirituality being about how you feel and what you connect to, all of those things were really, really like key for what I was looking for. And then I started reading around all these books and things, and there seemed to be, for a religion that was, or a path that was very much about do your thing, there seemed to be an awful lot of rules about what you should do and what you shouldn't do and what you should have, and, you know, and all those kind of things. And there were these long, long lists of tools that you supposedly, ultimately were supposed to have in order to be a proficient practicing witch. And I was young, I was only 18, I'd left home, I'd recently left home around the time that I started to walk this path. I didn't have a lot of money, I was in my first ever full-time job, it was the first time I was ever paying bills or being responsible for myself, and I just couldn't afford to buy a lot of the stuff that these books were telling me that I had to have, and a lot of these things that I was supposed to be accumulating over time. I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. It's money that I just don't have. So right from the offset, before I'd ever done anything, before I'd even started to practice or I'd started to really walk my own path, I already felt like I was being set up to fail in some way because I couldn't have all of these things that I was supposed to have. And I thought, you know, as I was thinking about this topic and thinking about making this topic, I was like, maybe I'm over exaggerating this a little bit. maybe it wasn't as much stuff as I thought it was. So I just grabbed a random book off the bookcase just to have a look. And these are one of the first books I started with. So this is The Complete Idiot's Guide to Wicca and Witchcraft. And they have a whole chapter called What You Need to Do Magic. And there's a little bit about storing tools and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a basic magical inventory for beginners. And it says, here is a list of basic items. Remember, once you have cleaned, consecrated and used a tool for magic, you can never use it for mundane purposes again. So I had no money and I felt like I needed to have this stuff. This was a basic list of stuff that people needed to have. And once I'd spent the money on them, I was only ever supposed to use them for magic and ritual. I was never allowed to use them for anything else. So I was spending money on items that for a majority of the time were going to sit in a chest or a drawer or something and not be used. Now this is the list. Altar cloths, amulets, anathema, baskets, bath salts and bath oils, beads, a bell, a bowline, which by the way, if anybody doesn't know, is a white handled knife, usually with a curved blade that's supposed to be for cutting things because you shouldn't use your athame for cutting things. A book of shadows, bowls, a broom, candles and candle holders, a cauldron, chalices, charcoal, clay, a censer, a compass, cords, crystals and gems, crystal balls, a decanter, divination tools, feathers, felt, fibre stuffing, herbs, holy water, incense, lighters, magical inks, a magical mirror, magic pens, a mortar and pestle, special types of music, needle and thread, oils, parchment paper, pentagram, a pocket knife, pouches, powders, scissors, a scrying mirror, sea salt, seeds, smudge sticks, statues, string, talismans, a wand and wooden spoons. I mean, holy crap, in and of itself, that is a massive list. It then goes on to say, when you get more advanced, you will want to start collecting all types of herbs, stones and oils. Eventually, as your magical work gets more in depth, you'll start writing your own spells and making your own talismans and amulets, and some of the advanced equipment can get expensive. Okay, I already think your basic list is expensive. I'm a little bit concerned about this advanced stuff that I'm going to need now. Later on, it talks about clothing and can witches do magic in street clothes. If you have to, you can do magic in street clothes. However, you should keep your magical clothes special. So not only do I now have this massive list of things that I need to buy, plus the implication that at some point I'm going to need to buy even more expensive stuff, I also now have to buy special clothes just for doing magic in. And then finally, jewellery. You should not wear magical jewellery for regular day-to-day activities. The jewellery should only be worn during ritual or when doing magic. So now I have all this jewellery to buy as well. I mean, this was a hell of a lot of stuff. And I did buy some of this stuff. I did buy an athame, which now sits in a drawer, one of the many drawers in my flat. I have no idea where it is. I never use it. I actually ended up making my own wand, which sits in a basket under my altar. It's very pretty. I'm very proud of it, but I never use it. There was so much stuff on this list that I either didn't use or I already had in the house, but apparently I couldn't use if I wanted to use it for magic because it could only be used for magical purposes. I think, you know, I don't know if this has changed. I don't know if this idea that material stuff seems to be so important in practicing magic that has changed, but when you look on Instagram, especially now, there's lots and lots of, you know, witchy aesthetic pages where there's lots of tools and lots of things and they all look very pretty, and they do look very, very pretty, but there is still that perception that you have to have all of this stuff in order to be able to do magic. And you know what, I'm just going to say it. In my opinion, that is total bullshit. You do not need this stuff to do magic. This stuff is nice and it might help you and it might get you in the frame of mind that you need to be in to do magic, but you don't need it. I'm not saying don't ever buy any tools, don't ever have any tools, nobody should have tools, tools are a waste of time. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that if you want to use tools, great. But use some discernment. Figure out what the tool is for. Figure out whether it's something that you already own. Figure out whether it's practical for you to have these tools that you only use for these purposes, or if you already have things that you can use for these purposes lying around the house. And just buy those things or make those things, or, you know, whatever, that you actually feel like you need, that you actually feel like are gonna add to your practice in some way, are actually gonna improve on what you're already doing. But especially if you are new, please don't feel like you have to go out and buy all this stuff. You can be a competent, capable, practicing witch with just a candle and a candle holder. You don't need all the other stuff. It's not necessary. And the other thing that I would say, the other thing for me that's really important, that also came out in this discussion that we had yesterday, where there were a mix of people who do have a lot of tools and they like to collect tools and they have things that are really important to their practice, and people who don't. The one thing that everybody who'd been practicing a while particularly agreed on was what makes a magical tool magical. What makes a magical tool magical is your intent and you giving that tool personal magical significance. And that can be, you can do that to anything, absolutely anything. If I want to cut something in my magic, I will either use, if it's like string or something, I'll just use a pair of scissors. I'll just grab a pair of scissors out of my craft box and use a pair of scissors. In that moment, in that spell work, I am giving them personal magical significance. My intent is to use them for magical purposes, so they are a magical tool. If I need to cut something up, like actually cut something up, I'll go and get a knife out the kitchen drawer. In that moment, in that magical space, it becomes a magical tool because that is the personal significance that I am giving to it. I sound really overly impassioned about this topic, and I think I am because of my own experiences in the beginning, and how that feeling that I had to have all this stuff really impacted my confidence and my belief in myself in the beginning. And if me rambling and ranting about it for 15 minutes on YouTube can help just one person who's new to their journey recognize that it's not necessary, it's not the be all and end all, and you do not need all of this stuff in order to be a competent, capable, practicing witch. If I can just help one person realize that, I'll feel like that this whole random rant, it's not even a ramble anymore, it's definitely a rant, was totally worth it. It is something that I feel needs to be talked about and needs to be said and needs to be put out there, because there's so much out there in terms of these Instagram images and in terms of certain videos on YouTube and in terms of certain articles that you might read that make it seem like you have to have this stuff. I think it's really important that there are people out there like myself who are saying, it's fine, have the stuff, but make sure you have the stuff because you want the stuff and it means something to you, and it's a decision that you've made that's right for you, and not because Instagram or YouTube or some random article on the internet has told you, or some random book even has told you that you have to have it. And before you buy anything, ever, make sure that you understand why it's used, what it's used for, and how it's used, because without knowing that stuff, how can you ever really decide whether it's something that's right for you or not? So I think I've probably ranted enough about this topic. I'm not even sure at this point if I actually said anything valuable after all of that, or if I just it was one long repeating piece of information. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there because I could go on and on and on and on, and then I would genuinely start repeating myself and people would start switching off. So thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as always. Please do leave me a comment below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Take care and lots of love. Bye bye.